Hello and welcome to this spring reboot number 13. So I'd like to suggest a reboot for your mind, so a mental reboot. Why not? The mind is so important in our life. So think of the winter as a time where typically it's like we are going within, we are going into our own cave. So what happens when we are in our cave? We want to stay safe. That's a typical thing that the mind wants. So how does that then translate into our mind is that we want to always have something that is predictable. We want something that is repetitive, that brings certainty. So basically the overall thing is that we are going to stay in a space where your mind is ruminating and regurgitating the same thoughts over and over, like like a hamster going into his wheel and pedaling the whole winter. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but roughly that is typically what happens mentally for us in the winter. So of course the spring is a different energy. You want to come out of your cave. You still want to stay safe, but you also want to reset your mental pattern so that you are able to stay open and welcome the newness of this world, and to open your perspective to obviously get to new and more helpful perspective in your life. So for this, how do we do that? I'm going to give you 3 actions that you can take. The first one, because it's spring, I'm calling it composting. We're going to compost old thoughts. So what it necessitates, of course, is for you to monitor your thoughts, to be aware of what you're saying, what you're thinking, the stories that are coming up in your mind. And God knows I have a lot that I have been writing down personally recently, maybe because I decided to do this exercise thoroughly. But every time there is something that comes up, what I suggest is that you actually write down that thought, that stories that goes in a loop and all, over and over again. And what you can do is, once you write it down, just claim that you do not want these thoughts anymore, that you are determined to change it. So you're basically going to write it down and use that paper as a symbolic compost for new thoughts to be reprogrammed with something better and more positive and more useful for yourselves. So the way you can dispose of the paper is up to you. You can just tear the paper apart, you can burn it, you can dissolve it in water. It doesn't matter. It is symbolic, but it is a ritual that is also very important for your mind to understand there is a transition from the old thought patterns to new ones that you are inviting in. So that's the first action. The second one I really love is something that I would do now, for instance, being in the garden, is, how, so like I was saying, in the winter, the energies are very like withdrawing and shrinking. And it's like it creates kind of a narrow focused type of being mentally. So what you want to do in the spring, you want to reopen your awareness. And a simple exercise to do, and you can just take 2 minutes to do this, and it's fun. I find it very fun personally, is to, so let's say I'm here right now and I'm focusing. I have, for instance, some rosemary and I have a fig tree and I have some thyme in front of me. I'm in Provence, so it's beautiful. So I could just keep my gaze forward, and I'm not, the idea is not to focus really, rigidly on something. It's like just a gaze of being aware where I'm at. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna use all your senses as much as you can. And you're gonna start maybe with sound. So right now you may hear it on the mic or not, but we have a wind that I don't like in the south of France. It's called Mistral. It's a crazy wind. Anyway, so I can hear the wind. I'm aware of it. Then you want to be maybe aware of smells. There are smells of actually fresh cut grass, because we're Sunday, the neighbor has cut the grass. And then anything that is around you that you don't see, I invite you to use your third eye, your imagination, your intuition, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, but to imagine what's to your right, what's to your left, and what's behind you. So this, what it does, it simply reopens your vision, and it reopens your mental vision, shall we call it. So it's kind of taking you out of this ruminating and going in a loop of thinking always the same thing, into something that is way more expanded, which is what you want to invite in the spring. And finally, the third action you can take, it's also so much fun, for me anyway, is to take maybe one a day or more of your routine actions. So let's take for instance brushing your teeth, and I want you to decide on a ever slight change of brushing your teeth. It can be in the way you brush your teeth, it can be in using a new mouthwash. I use a natural one that I make, for instance, instead of the chemical ones. It could be that instead of standing in front of the mirror, you're gonna sit down, or the opposite, or you're gonna do it maybe outside, who knows. It could be also that you take, when I go to work, if you do happen to need to travel to work, that you will take a different path. Instead of always going through this street, you're going to try a different street, and so on and so on. Just have fun. Just pick up something that you do routinely in a certain way, that is a rigid, always the same thing over and over again, and see if you can just introduce just a slight change. At the end of the day, it's not about traumatizing your life and your brain about, oh my gosh, now we're doing something differently. You want to stay safe, but you also want to exercise the flexibility of your mind to know that it can be open to change. Because at the end of the day, if you haven't noticed, this world is changing a lot, and there are a lot of big changes that are coming our way and that are already there. So you want to let your brain basically be okay with even the tiniest change of every day. So have fun with this, and I'll see you for our last session on the day 14 tomorrow. Take care, have fun.